Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing today? How's things where you are? Today is the All Hallows Eve, the night before Halloween. Tomorrow's the big day, and I've been talking about this project for a while, but I wanted to show you the project tonight. And before I do that, my child is 9. I have 2. My youngest is 9, and she came to me one day and said, "Dad, I want to be Marshmello." And at first I thought she meant our old dog. We had a dog named Marshmello. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. She's like, I said, "What is Marshmello?" She's like, he's a DJ. Like, look him up. And so I guess at this point I had never heard of him. I might have heard a song or two, but I didn't realize that it was a DJ named Marshmello. So I looked him up, and he's just one of these DJs that wears something on his head. And I thought, well, what? And she's like, "Yeah, I want to be Marshmello. I need to get, the helmet and then figure out a way, get white clothes to wear because that's what he wears." And I was like, okay. And so it just kind of ended there, and then she kept saying it. She wanted to be Marshmello, and I'm like, well, I'm going to have to make this mask thing happen at some point. So I just went for it. Before I show you, it's far from perfect. This is my first ever attempt at making a prop like this. So, but anyway, this is Marshmello. This is Marshmello's head. This is, I guess, my take on Marshmello's head. And it has a lot of imperfections if you're being picky, and I am. I'm always picky about my stuff. Who isn't? But essentially, it's a fairly lightweight headgear. This is similar to his look. I kind of screwed the mouth up a little bit. What are you going to do? And his helmet, his current helmet, has like LED backlighting all through it. But looking at his old videos, I honestly think this is how his old helmet was made. This is just that like needlecraft plastic screen stuff that I spray painted black. This is floor mats, foam floor mats, EVA foam floor mats, and then I put some lights in it. And the lights are LEDs around the eyes and the mouth. I don't know that he's ever done that, but she saw a version like that on eBay. And I was like, well, I have the LEDs to do that. So this is it. And it looks like garbage in here. I don't think I'm going to be able to show that to you because of the lighting. But essentially, what I have going on here is some 12-volt LED strip lights. These are daylight balanced, so they're kind of blue. I had to use this version, which is the first, I think these are the first LED strip lights I bought, and I didn't realize these have like a silicone protective coating, which I guess is good since this will be used on Halloween. It'll probably rain. But it's a pain in the butt to deal with, and I'll show you why in a minute. These I have used for my headboard. These do not have that protective coating, and they're much less of a pain to deal with. But I didn't have enough of these, so I used the other. That's simple. These are 12 volt, and I had to power it somehow, so I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but right here I have an A23 cell, I think. This is the battery that goes in your garage door remote, or like a vape pen. They use A23s, a little 12 volt battery, or 23A, whatever. Little 12 volt battery, and works perfect for LEDs. It won't run 12 volts very long. Like you couldn't power a 12 volt motor or something with this for very long at all. It's not made for that. It's made for long lasting, like in your remotes. But for some LEDs for an evening, maybe 2, it'll work just fine. So I had bought some battery holders a while ago because I was going to use some of these components to make a little handheld film light, which is still a plan. I need it for something else. So this started life as one of these 2 foot by 2 foot like textured foam floor mats, EVA foam. The cool thing about this foam is it's really easy to cut with a razor knife, and if you heat it, you can kind of shape it. So this is pretty stiff stuff because it's like a 1/2 inch thick. I had to heat it up and bend it around Actually, I just rolled it. I heated up and rolled it, and then let it just kind of sit that way, and then kind of unrolled it to glue it together. To glue it, I used contact cement. I specifically bought Weldwood because it was like a third of the price of Barge, and it works just fine. To put the lid on, I had to learn the hard way that you cannot use contact cement to put this part in. I put these two halves, this is two pieces, two halves together, and then had to put the lid in. And you can't use the contact cement because if I put it in here and put it on this piece, as soon as they touch, they're stuck, and then I wouldn't have the ability to push the lid down in. So I kind of held the lid down in there, put my hand up in, and then kind of pulled back the rim and super glued all the way around. This is super glued in, and that worked out perfectly. The only other thing was spray paint. I used first a blowtorch, just a regular propane torch. This kind of seals the foam and lets it stay smooth. When you put paint on it, the paint won't react. And then I used that paint I showed last week. It's called Plastidip. It's nasty stuff. That is an entire can of Plastidip. It is basically spray-on rubber. And the solvent that's in it is bad. Like, it lingered in here for days. So I do not recommend doing it indoors. But the nice thing about it is it won't eat the foam, it won't hurt it, and it makes it smooth. Smooth to the touch, it's actually pretty smooth. And then there's a couple, maybe 3 or 4 coats of just white spray paint on top of that to make sure that it was blended. And that's really it. Around these eyepieces, I didn't have a very... I went and bought a rotary tool to sand that, but it came with 60 grit, and that's all I had, so it was really, really super rough. But I knew I was going to put the LEDs in there, so I didn't care too much. And I painted that with white acrylic paint. I put it on pretty thick so that it would stay. The strip lights would not stick to that, so they're all hot glued in. These strip lights tend to come with 3M backing, which is really strong, but this was just really rough painted foam. They would not stick, so I had to use hot glue to hot glue them in. And then the big thing, this took me like hours last night, was around this mouth. I couldn't make this strip bend. And so I'll show you a close-up picture here. I had to cut the strips into little 3-inch or little 3-light sections and then solder each one of those joints together to make this essentially circle out of straight lines. And that was a complete pain in the butt, but it worked. It lights up. A little push switch that I had just for some other projects, and she has a helmet. So this was actually really fun. I learned all of this stuff from essentially 2, maybe 3 channels. If you want to watch I Like to Make Stuff, Bob Claggett, he has done a few things in this foam. The main one is Punish Props. Punish Props is a channel here on YouTube. He makes all sorts of props, armor, all kinds of stuff, and he has written books on how to make stuff out of this floor mat foam. And if you see like costumes around at conventions and stuff with people in full plate mail, it's probably this foam. And it's really remarkable how easy it is to work with, and gives pretty awesome results. I mean, this thing is stiff, but it's also really lightweight. It's not going to cause her any fatigue wearing it, and that's pretty amazing. So while it's not perfect, it is my very first ever project with this material, and I'm pretty happy with it. I doubt I'll ever make another one, but if I do, I have a lot of lessons learned on how to make it better the next time, and we'll see if I can do that. So thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being my bestest friends. I really appreciate you, and I hope you'll come back tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact comes from Wikipedia. What is Linear B? Linear B is a syllabic script that was used for writing Mycenaean Greek, the earliest attested form of Greek. The script predates the Greek alphabet by several centuries.